What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Bridging the Geekdoms. I am your host, Robert Slavinsky, and today on the show, we're going to talk some things about the MCU, about DC, the DCEU, the Snyderverse, potentially on what's happening there, as well as some other things. But what's interesting and what's most exciting is I actually have a guest with me today on the show. From Geeking Out Loud, I have Tyrel. What's up, man?
What's happening?
Going on? So this was kind of something that we came up with over the past week. We found each other on Facebook, essentially, in a podcast group, and we're like, hey, why don't we collab in some form or fashion? And that is what we are doing here. Before we get on with the show, tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, what your show is, how you like, what it's all about.
Okay, so Geeking Out Loud, if you're thinking like this in a metaphor, like if you know how you get excited and everything, and like people say laugh out loud and everything, like you geek out loud. Like I can't contain my excitement, like I can't hold in my excitement at all, so I just geek out loud. I go nerdy, you know. And essentially, I'm just from Kentucky, and I've always loved nerdiness and geek stuff, man. Like I was always the outcast in high school, so I just, like my favorite character, Deadpool, and I always talked about comics while everyone talked about sports or cars and everything. And yeah, so I decided I want to spread that joy and everything I feel in geekdom and everything and geek culture and talk about it with everyone else, you know?
Yeah, definitely, man. That's awesome. Now, I listened to a couple of your episodes. I did hear a couple other people on the show. Why don't you give them a shout out as well?
Okay, yeah, like one of my podcast hosts, Justin Williams, he's one of the great podcast hosts you ever meet. And he's on his own podcast called Super Tangent Podcasts. And Heather, she's on so many different things, man. She's into NASA, she's into all this stuff, like so much to say in so little time, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Well, awesome, man. I checked out the show. I think everybody needs to go find them. I listened to them on Spotify, so I know you can find them there. They are on Anchor as well. So definitely check out his show. But let's kind of dive into everything here. So the big thing that I want to talk about, that we were going to talk about, is obviously the Spider-Man stuff. But we're going to get to that later on. Before we get there, I kind of want to talk about the information about David Ayer Suicide Squad. Now, this past weekend, we had a couple interesting images pop up thanks to David Ayer on Instagram. One is this one here. Now, we do know that the look of Enchantress was supposed to be vastly different than what was in the theatrical cut of Suicide Squad. It was supposed to be more in line with what we're seeing right here in this picture. Now, what's interesting about this is, why did he post this picture on Instagram? It actually looks like this is Cara Delevingne in the role. Like, this looks more than just concept art to me. He also posted this, a scene of the Joker. Obviously, looks like he's in Arkham Asylum. And there's a teddy bear on the table, which was a gift from Harleen Quinzel. Again, why is he posting these pictures? I mean, we've seen him post a lot of different pictures on social media, but that was back in June and July. Since then, he kind of stopped doing that, and speculation was, okay, because we know the Ayer cut is coming, and he knows it's coming, he's not going to share much more, and that's about that. So we've been all expecting the Ayer cut to be announced since June or July. We've got no announcement. Well, he then tweets out on October 17th this. Somebody asked him, or somebody was talking about the Suicide Squad cut and, the faults that it has. And he goes, I took the hits like a good soldier when the studio cut hit the streets. It's who I am. I watched my cut for the first time since it was abandoned. It is fucking amazing. On God. I'm thinking he was trying to say, oh God. I felt guilty for years like I fucked. Nope. It's fire. It's the tone of the Comic-Con trailer 100%. Now, let's take a look at a tweet that he then had back in 2018. November 15th, 2018. Well, since you ask nicely, I have no control or access to old work media from any of my films. The copyright holder controls it. The media isn't in releasable form anyway. It only exists as archived editorial files. It would be incredibly expensive to re-release and market. So that was 2 years ago. And now he's saying that he just watched a cut of his movie. Why would he be watching a cut of his movie right now? Well, while editing is going on and additional VFX are being completed on it, he's going to continue watching the film. He's going to watch it. He's going to see what's being done, adjust the movie with this and that and put all the pieces together because it's going to be re-edited to his original idea for release. And that's why he watched it. I mean, it's coming. I don't understand why people don't yet understand that or believe it, but it is coming. It's coming down the pipeline. Now, from your standpoint, what do you think about all this? Like, what is it? Are you a fan? Did you like the movie that came out in 2016? Was there something more that you wanted?
More.
What was it about it that you didn't like?
Okay, for one, they did your little dirty. Like, they could have had a lot more done with him. Like, there's so much stuff you've seen in the trailer that you didn't see in the movie.
Yeah.
Like, and we didn't even get to see the part where he's like, I'm not going to kill you. I'm going to hurt you really, really bad. And I was really looking forward to that. And they just did my man dirty. And people all around are saying that he's the worst Joker out of all of them. But he really ain't. He just didn't have enough screen time,
I agree 100%. I've always told people you cannot reasonably judge his portrayal of the Joker because of the lack of screen time that he actually had. So I'm with you on that. I'm all for seeing more Jared Leto Joker and David Ayer Suicide Squad. But I'm more interested to see the original concept and idea of how the movie was supposed to connect not just the DCEU, but more specifically to Justice League.
Mm-hmm. I've heard of that. Like, man, I heard that he was supposed to be connected to Apocalypse and Steppenwolf.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was like, Enchantress was supposed to be, if I believe so, was supposed to be connected to a mother box. And
yeah, so essentially the whole driving force was Enchantress kind of created a boom tube of sorts for Steppenwolf, like a portal for Steppenwolf to come and to the world. That the little minions that she has in the theatrical version were actually supposed to be parademons. There was supposed to be a deal made with Enchantress and Joker, and Steppenwolf would be involved. This would be the reason why Batman and Justice League is hunting the parademons and following up and using detective skills on what the hell is transpiring and where these parademons are coming from and why they're here. That was supposed to all be connected. And we just didn't get that because the studio or Jeff Johns and John Berg went in and were like, nope, we got to change it. Take that all out. We're not doing that. And they made what we got in 2016. A lot of people sit there and say it's impossible to get Steppenwolf in David Ayer's cut of the movie. Now, we have to remember there were a lot of reshoots that were done on that film. Not as much as Justice League. However, there are certain aspects of the movie that could be easily altered because they could take out the reshoots and add in the initial principal photography. What that all entails, I can't tell you because I don't know for a fact. But this is a good sign. What he's telling us here, this right here, more specifically, that he just watched his cut of the movie. To me, that is saying, hey, I am working on this. David Ayer's not an idiot. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's saying. He knows when he puts stuff out on social media, he knows the kind of excitement that he's going to rile up with it. So I think it's coming. I mean, I think people just need to get on board. Finally, it is coming. It's just, when is it going to be announced? That's all anybody wants to know.
Yeah, man. Like, When I first heard that David Ayer wants a cut release, and then they started doing this movement about the Ayer cut, I was like really hyped up. I'm like, I don't know if they're gonna do this, but then I started seeing more and more about David Ayer, so it could be a big impact on him, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out for sure. I'm looking forward to it. But what I'm looking forward to, like I said, the most is how it's going to connect with the entirety of Justice League and what Zack Snyder was creating with Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Suicide Squad, which was supposed to take place in between Batman v Superman and Justice League, and then Justice League. Another interesting fact, or not fact, but another interesting rumor that popped up over this past weekend was the return of Jared Leto as Joker. Now, this has been inevitable from the very beginning. A lot of people don't realize from the moment that they announced Zack Snyder's Justice League, Jared Leto's return to the Snyderverse was inevitable. And there's a couple reasons why. Because with Zack Snyder getting his movie released, that also meant that they were going to release David Ayer Suicide Squad. So we're going to get more Jared Leto there. But Jared Leto was in Zack Snyder's Justice League. And a lot of people don't realize that. He was in that movie. Wasn't a big role, but he is in that movie. Now, the really amazing thing about this news, that it's finally getting out there, which I'm still shocked that people didn't realize it, was the fact that the Harley Quinn and Joker movie is potentially back on the table. And that's amazing because we're seeing the continuation in the building of the Snyderverse in a sense, because that was, while it wasn't a part of Snyder's vision directly, it's stemming off from there. And that's what's amazing about it, and I'm all for seeing more Jared Leto Joker. I think we're going to, depending on how far we get with Snyder's arc, I do believe that Joker is going to be in it in some form or fashion. Rumor has it that the actual Nightmare timeline, both Joker and Deathstroke are actually fighting alongside Batman against the Parademons and the Army of Apocalypse, which would be absolutely insane to see. But what are your thoughts on it?
Well, I mean, when you said Jared Leto and Deathstroke, like with Batman, like that was crazy, man. But no, like I know it'd be insane. It'd be a lot better than what we got, and yeah, like.
Now,
go ahead.
We have this comment here. I'm not sure who this Facebook user is. Again, heads up, if you're a Facebook user, if you follow, there's a link there, follow it. You'll be able to connect your Facebook to StreamYard. That way we can see who's actually talking to us. But they're saying it'll weaken the product. Who wants to keep paying because they can't get their shit together? Not 100% sure what you're talking about there. Are you talking about Suicide Squad, David Ayer Suicide Squad, putting Steppenwolf in it? Like, I'm not sure what you're talking about, but if you can clarify, I'll be happy to answer that. But there's so much that a lot of people are not aware of when it comes to what was being built with what Zack Snyder was creating. So much more in depth. I've talked about it multiple times on my show. I just think that, with this possibility of more Jared Leto, with the possibility of the continuation of Zack Snyder's, Justice League Parts 2 and 3, hopefully, it's exciting because we were shortchanged, or we were gypped in 2016. That's when all of the issues really started to begin with the DCEU. We got Batman vs. Superman, which was edited down to 2.5 hours, which was not a very good theatrical release. Suicide Squad was just a muddled mess because of the meddling behind the scenes. Then we saw what happened with Justice League. That all comes down to what was going on behind the scenes, and it's just unfortunate. It really, truly is unfortunate that it happened that way. So what are your thoughts? I mean, are you excited about? I want to get your opinion on everything that's Zack Snyder related, the Snyder Cut movement and everything like that.
Yeah, like, man, the movement and everything with Zack Snyder was crazy, but like when I seen Zack Snyder, like, you remember how he had that watch party for Man of Steel?
Yeah, I was part of the watch. I was watching it.
Yeah, like when I was gonna go watch it, but then I'm like, I don't even know what happened that day. But anyways, when I first heard Snyder Cut, I'm like, this has to be fake. Like, people were all announcing it, and I'm like, and then someone finally released like what Zack Snyder actually said, and I'm like, hold up. So my mind was blown, man. Like, it was kind of insane. But like, even the guy that plays Deathstroke, he was even talking about saying like he's excited to go back to Deathstroke. Him and what was it? Aquaman. He was excited too about Snyder Cut, you know?
Yeah, that's the crazy thing. Joe Manganiello, who plays Deathstroke, which I say it all the time, Pittsburgh native. That's where I'm from, Pittsburgh. So brother from the Burgh, got to call him out. Anyway, but Joe Manganiello, he plays Deathstroke, and immediately after they announced the Snyder Cut, he tweeted out the original Deathstroke end credit scene or whatever, however he put it. That basically saying that scene that we got at the end of Justice League, where he gets onto the boat with Lex Luthor, and Lex is like, perhaps we start a league of our own. That was not the original intention of what was supposed to be there. The original version of that scene actually had the Joker, Deathstroke, and Lex. All three of them were in that scene. Whether it happened at the end of the movie, the middle of the movie, that's still not really sure. According to Joe, it kind of seems like it was probably near the end of the film. However, it was about Lex actually hiring Deathstroke to find and hunt down the Batman. Because remember, if you remember the end of Batman vs. Superman, the end of Batman vs. Superman showed, Batman essentially threatening Lex Luthor. And he didn't like that. And he can't go toe-to-toe with Batman on a physical stage. So what does he have? He has money and he has the intelligence. By hiring Deathstroke, an assassin, to go after Batman, that's a pretty, smart move. And that was the whole idea behind it, which would lead into the Batman movie with Ben Affleck. What happens at that point, who knows? And there's still talk that the Ben Affleck movie is going to happen, or if it's going to be a mini series or what on HBO Max. It's going to happen. I from my people that I talk to who are telling me it's happening, I believe it's happening. So obviously we got to see that scene again, because it'll set that up.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's exciting. I mean, it all of it is exciting. People need to realize, there's a lot of people who are sick and tired of hearing about the Snyder Cut and everything like that. And I get it. For the last 3 years, almost 4 years now, 3.5 years, we've been freaking out about it because we want the Snyder Cut to be released for artistic integrity. That's what the movement was all about. Kind of segueing nicely into my next subject here that I want to talk about. Unless you have anything you want to talk about on what you want to mention. Anything?
Oh man, like the only thing I gotta mention about is like I'm excited about the Snyder Cut, but like some people say it's like a coin flip. It could be good, but really bad, but it can't be worse than what the Justice League we got now.
Can it be worse? It's not going to be worse. At worst, at its worst, it's going to be no better than Batman versus Superman, which is not a bad movie. The Ultimate Edition is a fantastic film. It has its faults, but it's not a bad movie. That'll be at its worst. I have full faith that it's going to be better because there's no compromise. This is completely Zack Snyder's vision. He's going to be able to do what he wants, how he wants, where he wants. And that's why I think it's going to be better than that.
So do you think that if Snyder Cut Justice League goes good, that he might come back for some future Justice League movies?
So what I'm hearing is we will be getting the rest of Snyder's arc. Whether that is an additional series or season after this Justice League, 4-part arc comes out this year or this coming year, or if it's going to be 2 movies, that's still up for debate. No one's really sure on that. We do know that Zack had a initial vision of five movies: Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, Justice League 1, Justice League 2. Now, Justice League 2 was so large that it was split into 2 parts, but that never got announced. But it was going to be split into 2 films. That entire arc is supposedly going to be completed in some form or fashion. There's speculation that they may not do it in live action. It could be animated. But it is going to be completed. I do believe that. I believe that the contract that Henry Cavill has recently signed that has yet to be announced, and got to give our credit out to the Culture Nerd there for breaking that a few weeks back, that he did sign a new contract, and it is including multiple pictures. I believe that those films or those appearances are going to be included with that. It comes down to timing, really, because Gal, Jason Momoa, Ezra Miller, Ben Affleck, all these actors, Ray Fisher, Henry Cavill, they're all busy. They all have other projects lined up right now. I think Ben has like 5 or 6 projects lined up, either as director or actor. Gal has her Cleopatra film coming up. Ezra has the Fantastic Beasts films, and Jason has Aquaman 2 coming up. So there's projects that are in the way for them to continue as quick as we would want to see. We do know that additional photography is going to take place for Justice League, Zack Snyder's Justice League, sometime this month, if it hasn't started or been completed already. But now it's going to be figuring out when can they schedule these people to come back if they're doing it in live action. And that's something that they have to figure out now, because the longer they wait, the more their schedules get filled up. So, yeah, I mean, as soon as I know for a fact that it's happening or how it's going to happen, obviously I'll let everybody know. Keep an eye out. Keep watching and checking out the Culture Nerd. They are really great with all that stuff. They're in the know. Them and Matt over at Lightcast have really broken down a lot of great stuff over the past 5 or 6, 7, 8 months now. When it comes to the DCU, they broke the news about Zack Snyder's Justice League a couple months before it was made official, everything like that. So it's that's where I would say go and keep an eye out, because that's where you're going to get all your information. And real quick, I want to apologize. I'm battling a cold right now, everyone, so I apologize if it looks like I'm kind of sicky right now, because I am. I'm just getting over it. I've been sick over the past weekend, so I apologize. But yeah, with that, I mean, I think it's going to happen. I'm not going to say I think. I know it's going to happen. We're going to get additional arc, the finish the arc. How? That's what I'm not sure about. I hope it's live action. I think it deserves to be live action. I think a lot of it has to do with how well Zack Snyder's Justice League does on HBO Max. I also think it matters on how well HBO Max does and how they can correlate that to Zack Snyder's Justice League.
So, what do you think about the dark side that's going to be on there? Like, what is your opinion on it?
So my opinion about Darkseid, see, that's a big point, a big part of why I believe we're going to get the continuation, because Darkseid was going to pop up at the end of this movie, which is now a 4-part miniseries. He was going to pop up at the end of the movie through a boom tube. They were going to see him and be like, oh shit, that looks dangerous. He looks mean. He looks evil. And that was supposed to be a bit of a tease of what's to come. And then we were going to jump 5 years into the future. And we were going to see 5 years into the future of the nightmare sequence, where we see Batman, Flash, Cyborg, all hiding out from the apocalyptian army or forces, the parademons and such. So how much of that we're actually going to get, I don't know. I know we're going to get Darkseid. Darkseid's obviously going to be in the movie.
Mhm.
I don't think that they're going to finish off that Darkseid arc in those 4 parts. So I do think that that's a big reason, because they can't just not hint, but like they can't give you a cliffhanger like that, like, hey, here's Darkseid, and then just not ever give it to us later. We have to see it in some form or fashion.
Yeah, but I also heard that, I don't know if it's true or not, but that Green Lantern and Martian Manhunter are going to be in there.
Yes, Martian Manhunter will be in it. He is actually General Swanwick is Martian Manhunter. We will see a scene of that in some form or fashion. He's already hinted to it that it's a scene between Martha and Lois, and it ends up being that I believe Martha, I think, is the one that he's disguised as Martha. Green Lantern is in the movie. The debate is who's playing Green Lantern. It is not Ryan Reynolds. People try to say it's Ryan Reynolds. It's not Ryan Reynolds. I'm on the team of Sam Benjamin, because here's the thing about Zack Snyder. He doesn't get known actors to play these roles, with the exception of Ben Affleck. There's a reason for that. Gal Gadot, really an unknown actress. She was in a few Fast and Furious movies and here and there, but she wasn't known. Jason Momoa, Ezra Miller, Ray Fisher was in one television series, and I think he wasn't even in the entire series. He uses unknowns in his films. Henry Cavill was even an unknown when they cast him as Superman. He was in Tudors, I think, prior to that, and a couple of things here and there, but he wasn't a household name. So the fact that they would bring Ryan Reynolds as Green Lantern is just ridiculous, unbelievable. Sam Benjamin has been rumored to play Green Lantern for quite some time. Whether some people are saying that he's the one that started the rumors, he is in the movie. We know that much. He plays a military man in the movie. But what that means, or if he is actually Green Lantern, we do know, or I know, that Jeff Johns told him that he could not put Green Lantern completely in the movie. Whether that means he couldn't put Hal Jordan in it or whatever. So I think that we're going to see Sam Benjamin was always supposed to be Green Lantern, but wasn't going to completely be Green Lantern in Justice League. And then we would get him later on. And I think that was kind of the idea. I think with additional photography, some interesting work can be done to truly make a Green Lantern on screen. But it'll be interesting. That scene where Superman comes down and talks to Alfred, that was initially supposed to be Green Lantern. Somebody on the production, according to Kevin Smith, writer, director, podcaster Kevin Smith, he said he talked to somebody from production. They had green lights flashing on Alfred because that was supposed to be Green Lantern. Only later did they change it to being Superman. So,
yeah, I know we had a cameo from Green Lantern in the first Justice League movie. So, like in the very beginning, wasn't it?
Yeah, we got in the history lesson.
Yeah,
there was a short little cameo of an ancient Green Lantern, but yeah, that's about it.
Yeah.
Retrograde Productions. It definitely will be ambitious regarding Zack Snyder's Justice League, and when we see Zack's actual film and what is in it, to think this is what could have come out back in 2017, my goodness, you are not wrong on that. I cannot wait to see what comes of that, because we don't know. At this point, we have all speculation. We don't know for fact what's coming at all. I'm definitely excited. Now, I kind of going to shift into another subject here. It's still kind of on the Snyder Cut and everything, but I kind of want to talk to all the people, all the fans, and all the people within the movement of Release the Snyder Cut, because this weekend, one of our own, somebody within the movement, somebody who has actually played a decent-sized role, especially of late in the movement, has gotten some pretty bad publicity, a bad rap, and I think it's ridiculous. I'm not going to sit here and say that any one person is more important in this movement than another, because it's not. That's not the case. Anybody who ever tweeted out, released that hashtag release the Snyder Cut, anybody who donated to AFSP, anybody who just championed us to get Zach's vision out there, played a big role in this movement. And Sean O'Connell of Real Blend or Cinema Blend, he wrote a book called the Release the Snyder Cut book. And it's a book about the movement, about what everybody did within that movement to help push and change movie history, essentially, because this movie's coming out. This is unprecedented. This has never been heard of before. And he wrote it down, made a book, talked to some of the big players within the movement, talked to Zack Snyder, Ray Fisher, and so many others for this book. And people are calling him out because they found tweets of his back in 2015, 2016, 2018, saying how much he did not like Man of Steel or something like that. People need to remember and realize that this movement was about getting people who did not completely understand Zach's vision to say, look, there's a greater meaning behind what Zach was doing. Join the movement. Let's get this thing out, and you will see. You will see what he was trying to do. That's part of what this movement was about. It was about artistic integrity. It was about getting something that we should have gotten. It was about supporting suicide prevention. But it was about growing the fandom as well, whether it was getting media coverage, whether it was just getting additional fans, people, moviegoers to jump in and just tweet it out once or twice. That's what the movement was about, to build a community of fans who are supporting Zack Snyder and saying, look, what you went through was ass, and we're going to support you and make sure that your vision is realized. That's what the movement was about. The people that are sitting there trying to say, Sean, you're ridiculous. You're only making money from this now. You're taking advantage of the whole entire movement, I think is ridiculous. I think in a way, some of these people are just jealous that they didn't think about, or they don't have the talent to sit down and write a book like he did. You don't make money off of a book. You just don't.
Yeah, like when you told me about this and I read it on him, I'm like, this man, like he was talking about how they did a lot with like the suicide prevention and everything, the fundraisers. And then I'm like, okay, this guy's talking about how much impact he had on everyone. And then I looked into how many people are dissing him now, and I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. I mean, I had him on my show back in July. I think it was early July. I had him on my show. He's a great guy. Like, he really is a great guy. Love talking with him. He's excited as much as I am about the Snyder Cut. But, let's be honest. There were a lot of people who did not like Man of Steel. I, for one, think it's a masterpiece. But jump to Batman vs. Superman. When I came out of the theater watching it on March 24th, actually, because I got the early premiere. On March 24th of 2016, I walked out of that theater. It was like, what the hell was that? Like, what did I just watch? Like, why? I went home that night, sat down on my computer, was like, I could write a better movie than that. And I started typing up a fanfic of what it should have been. So, even me, who is a diehard Snyder fan now, I didn't quite understand Batman vs. Superman right away. And that's the same with people with Man of Steel. That's the same with people who are going to be with Justice League. That's how it is, because sometimes you don't get art right away. And while Sean has been very upfront in saying, look, there's still more parts of Man of Steel that he's not a big fan of, he does appreciate what Zach has created and what Zach is trying to complete. And that's what we want. We want people to sit there and say, you know what? Even if I don't line up completely in understanding or like what he's doing completely, I want to see it through, because I think that's more important than sitting there. Somebody who doesn't like a movie, if they're still like, look, I didn't like that, but I want to see where it goes. I think that's more important than saying, you know what, you need to like that movie. Like, who the hell cares at this point? It's just like this movement sometimes just aggravates me to no end, because there's no reason to fight within it. There's so much that goes on, just this division, this fight within the movement, and it just gives me a headache. It really does.
It gets like, sometimes when, like, even in a movie, it sometimes gets out of hand, not in a good way, but in a bad way. Like, they'll, like, for instance, what you were saying, like, they'll sometimes get jealous sometimes, like, that they didn't come up with a better idea. And there's being bullies, pretty much.
Pretty much.
So.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see here. I'm not going to talk anymore on that, because I'm going to get heated, and I don't really want to get heated with that, because I respect a lot of people in the movement. I do. There's a lot of people I respect. I've been part of the release of the Snyder Cut roundtables. I've hosted a couple myself. I've had a couple of these people on the roundtable who were attacking Sean. I respect them. I think that their passion and their excitement for what Zack Snyder is creating is extremely important to the movement. But where I don't agree with them is how they are attacking others within the movement, because that does nothing but cause division, which makes the movement look bad, and it's going to essentially hurt the movement, to where we need to stay excited, keep showing our passion, because that's the only way we're going to get more. That's the only way Zach's going to be able to finish his vision.
Yeah, man, like, we just need to keep going forward instead of, like, just stopping along the way just to waste our time bullying and everything. Just need to keep going forward and, like, just put your head in the game, pretty much.
Exactly. All right, so we're going to move on to the coup de grace, the big story of this episode today. And that is of what the hell is going on with Spider-Man 3? Marvel's and Sony's Spider-Man 3 actually started production today. I believe they started in New York City today.
Yeah.
Over the past couple weeks, we've heard about Jamie Foxx reprising his role. He's not taking a new role. He is reprising his role as Electro from Amazing Spider-Man 2, which was a different Spider-Man. We have the casting, or the addition, of Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange in the upcoming Spider-Man movie. And then we have the rumors swirling right now that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are going to reprise their roles as Peter Parker and Peter Parker, respectively, in the movie as well. I want to get your take on this, because I know you're kind of excited about talking about it. I believe you recently talked about it on one of your episodes of your show.
Yeah. Okay. Like, when I first heard about this, I was like being realistic. Like, okay, they're not going to bring back Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, because I thought, because they're both done with the characters. But then, like, you put in Doctor Strange, and then you hear about Jamie Foxx Electro. You see where they're trying to go with this. And, like, it's just hard not to believe that they're trying not to do a Snyderverse, especially with Doctor Strange in the mix. And, like, I'm also hoping Miles Morales is in it, because we already know he exists in the MCU, because Donald Glover was in Homecoming. He was the uncle.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. He's the uncle of Miles Morales in Homecoming, which, from what I understand, they initially planned on introducing Miles Morales into the MCU, but it was I don't know who it was, but somebody nixed the idea. Somebody's like, no, we're not doing it. So, not really sure what happened there, but let's get back to this whole multiverse aspect.
Yeah.
So let's start off with the first thing that's coming up, WandaVision. That's coming out this December or November on Disney Plus. Now we know Wanda is going to also be in Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Rumor has it that she's actually going to be the villain of that movie, which is really interesting. If that plays out, I kind of hope it does.
Oh yeah.
But we know that something's going to happen in WandaVision that is supposed to be what sets off the events in Doctor Strange 2, which I think is going to also play a role in what happens in Spider-Man 3, whether it's who knows what it's going to be called. It's going to be Home something. But
yeah. Homesick, home run, it'll be something, but like I know that
I've heard homeless is a good idea.
Homeless would be good.
Since he's on the run, homeless I think is a cool idea. But,
oh yeah. But yeah, like I told everyone, even on my podcast, someone just need to talk to Wanda because she's the Barry of the MCU. She instead of the timeline, she just ruins the whole reality, you know? And like I believe that she'll have she'll make a ripple or something that comes in between, like some type of effect after she tries to fix everything, probably after she realizes her mistake. And some type of ripple or something going to happen to affect Spider-Man 3. And yeah, man,
now I believe Spider-Man 3 comes out before Doctor Strange is supposed to come out. Doctor Strange is actually going into production in November. Spider-Man just started today. So I think it's going to be more of what happens in WandaVision may actually affect the overall MCU. We're going to see the first effects of it happening in Spider-Man, which is where Doctor Strange comes in to be like, what the hell is going on? Which then leads into Doctor Strange 2. That's my theory. I can't be sure if that's what's going to happen, but that's just my theory. The idea of creating a multiverse within the MCUs is a cool idea. It's fun. I mean, we know that DC's doing their own multiverse. Now Marvel's going to do theirs. Good times, fun times, for sure. However, their multiverses in the comics are vastly different than one another, so it's going to be interesting to see how they manipulate the Marvel one for the MCU. Now, the talk about Toby and Andrew coming back is an interesting idea. Now, think of it this way. They bring Toby and Andrew back. Toby could be a one-off type of thing. I mean, I think he's in his 40s now. I highly doubt he wants to play Spider-Man much longer or at all. Again, really. Fan service in a movie, sure. But to carry on a series, probably not again. Andrew, on the other hand, is still in his early 30s.
Yeah.
He could carry on a few more movies as Spider-Man. Why not? If they establish a multiverse, why not do that? I know that's something that you're a fan of the idea of Sony getting Andrew's Spider-Man movies moving forward and Tom Holland staying in the Marvel side of things.
Yeah, it was confirmed at one point, the whole big old Spider-Man ordeal when they tried getting Tom Holland back to Sony,
Yeah.
And yeah, they were going to initially do that, but then I think someone probably thought of since we got a multiverse, let's bring back Andrew Garfield. We'll do justice with him again. And Tobey Maguire can I don't know if he'll die off or what, but he'll think about his character,
What would be interesting, and I'm not against the idea of having Andrew in Sony and having Tom in the MCU. I'm not against those ideas at all. I'm just not a big fan of Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker, Spider-Man. I wasn't a big fan of those two movies. Perhaps if they got a different writer, different director, maybe they could do something better with him. But then again, I'm not a fan of what they did with Venom either, so I'm not sure I trust Sony on what they're doing at all. But I want to see Miles Morales. Why not, instead of confusing fans, establish the multiverse, that's fine. But having two Peter Parkers, I think, would still confuse some people. I do, especially the Marvel fans, the MCU fans. Not saying that the Marvel fans are not as smart as DC fans. I'm not saying that, but the general audience, because there's more of a general audience allure or drawing impact from Marvel, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, than DC. DC kind of has this cult following where you have these fans who are really, really invested. Whereas Marvel, they kind of hit the, hey, grandma and grandpa can come watch this movie and enjoy it, So I think from that aspect, having two Peter Parkers, one over on Sony, one in Marvel, would be a little confusing for people. However, going back to the Miles Morales thing, why the hell not? Why is now is the perfect time for a Miles Morales live action movie? Whether they move Tom Holland over to Sony and Miles shows up in the MCU, or if Tom Holland stays there and whoever they do for Miles Morales goes on Sony, I don't care. But I would love to see a live action Miles Morales movie. If Into the Spider-Verse told us anything, it's that people were ready for a Miles Morales Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm. They're even coming out with the PS5 game, so I mean...
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It'd be better than Andrew Garfield. The only thing I didn't like about Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man is he's a horrible Peter Parker.
Yeah.
He had the Spider-Man wit and everything down. It was just the Peter Parker attitude that just killed it for me.
See, I wasn't a big fan of Mark Webb's directing. I think that was a big problem for it with me. Every time Spider-Man was swinging through the town, it was like an iconic front page of a comic book. And it was kind of like, all right, enough. Okay. He's not going to swing like that every single time he swings, It's just enough. And that's part of it. I mean, there's more to it than that bothers me. But I think the amazing thing that this could do, this whole thing with Doctor Strange and Wanda and opening up this multiverse, I think people right now are just too focused on Spider-Man. I don't think they're realizing what else this is going to open up.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, we know the Defenders that were on Netflix, while they were technically part of the MCU, weren't really ever part of the MCU.
No.
There's characters there that nobody really likes. Danny Rand. The Iron Fist show was not great. Season 2 of Iron Fist was awesome because they stopped focusing on Danny Rand and focused on the other characters, and it got really good. There's characters like Kingpin, who played by can't remember his name. Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
fantastic in Daredevil. Charlie Cox is Daredevil. Another fantastic casting. I was a big fan of Jessica Jones. I mean, the Mike Coulter as Power Man. Oh, come on. Luke Cage. Come on. He was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I love Mike Coulter. He's an amazing, amazing actor. But this could bring some of these actors into the MCU fold now. Like
X-Men. He can do the X-Men and Fantastic Four too.
There it is. That's where else I was leading to. Exactly. Why not call up Hugh Jackman and be like, hey, man, want to do a quick cameo? What do you mean? We're going through the multiverse of all the Marvel characters, and we want to have you in it for a minute. Hugh Jackman, he would do that.
Mm-hmm.
On the claws again for that. Even if it's just one interaction with somebody, one of the Avengers, people would lose their shit.
Yeah, since we're talking about that, I would love for them to bring Deadpool into the mix, you know what I'm saying?
And there it is. That's how you bring Deadpool into it.
Mm-hmm.
This multiverse idea is not specifically meant for Spider-Man, but this is reestablishing their Marvel property as a whole now. I think, sorry about that. I think this was Kevin Feige sitting down with Sony and okay, here's the deal. We want to keep Spider-Man. We want to continue on with Spider-Man. You guys want to do a Spider-Man. So how about we do this? Let's do this multiverse thing. We could keep a Spider-Man over here. You get your own Spider-Man. You can make your Spider-Man movies. We can make our Spider-Man movies. We can do what we want here. We're both happy. We're both making money. But Kevin Feige was also like, well, damn. We got Fantastic Four coming now. We got X-Men coming. We got Deadpool. We can implement this all. You like some of the portrayals of the characters of the X-Men? You can now bring them in.
Mm-hmm.
Like some of the Fantastic Four portrayals? Not really, but you can bring them in. How cool would it be if we saw Chris Evans suit up as Human Torch? I don't know. The possibilities are endless right now. And I don't think people are thinking so small in regards to this whole multiverse idea because it's connected to the Spider-Man movie. That's exciting. But the door's about to be blown open in Marvel. And I could not be more excited because I had Marvel fatigue. At the end of Endgame, I sat there and was like, okay, yeah, cool. It's over. What the hell are they going to do now? You know? Like, I don't care about Ant-Man. Spider-Man, I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with him.
Mm-hmm.
I did not like the Doctor Strange movie. So I'm sitting there like, I have nothing to look forward to. These possibilities, this idea of the multiverse just reinvigorated my excitement for Marvel.
Yeah, like when I first watched Endgame, it was a cinematic experience. But yeah, like when they started talking about what they have afterwards, in the next phase, and I'm like, this it? I mean, like, I know that they're going to come up with Blade eventually, the old Luke Cage villain. And
yeah, the guy who played Cottonmouth in Luke Cage is playing Blade, Mahershala Ali. Mm-hmm. I'm not looking forward to that. I don't think Mahershala fits Blade, just in my opinion. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the Wesley Snipes Blade movies. Mm-hmm. More than the first and third one. I'm not a fan of the second one. But I want to be excited for Blade. I just don't like Mahershala Ali playing Blade. I'm still going to watch it. I'm still going to go see it. I'm still going to support it. It's just, it'll be interesting because that's a completely different type of movie or idea. That's not going to be the PG-13 family-friendly Marvel movies that we've got. And it can't be. It just can't be.
No. Not unless they he slices them and they turn to dust and that's about it.
And they're also bringing in the paranormal into the MCU now. The fact that there's going to be vampires now, that's kind of huge. Mm-hmm. Could this be another way to explain why that's happening? It's exciting. There's so much that can come from this. I think people need to start thinking broader.
Outside the box.
Exactly. Think outside the box on what they can do. I'm sure they have a plan. I think Black Widow and Eternals, those are going to be more along the lines of the old style MCU. But when it comes to Spider-Man, when it comes to Doctor Strange, WandaVision, all these upcoming movies after those two, Black Widow and Eternals, I think that's where we're going to start to see this new age of Marvel Cinematic Universe open up. And it's exciting. I can't wait. I really can.
I can't wait either, man. Once you open up the multiverse, people, it's unlimited. The possibilities are endless.
Yeah.
You can go any direction you want. It'll make sense.
Exactly. And that's how you can connect everything. I mean, the fact that we've had all these different Spider-Mans, we've had all these different X-Men, all that stuff can be connected in a way because it's just branches of the multiverse. Mm-hmm. And, now that Marvel essentially owns everything but Spider-Man at this point, for the most part, I know there's still some weird Fantastic Four and Hulk things going on.
Yeah.
But the fact that they own pretty much all their characters again, with the exception of Spider-Man, it's kind of exciting to see what they can do. And if Sony can be on board and say, look, we like what you're creating, but we want to kind of do our own thing, and we can cross over from time to time now because of the multiverse. What the hell? Let's give it a shot. Let's see what happens. I think that's an amazing idea.
Yeah, I mean, the multiverse, for instance, I've been seeing so much information saying, that they're going to make Tom Cruise Tony Stark in another multiverse,
Yeah, I mean I think that's just a rumor right now. I don't think that's any truth.
It ain't confirmed, but I mean it's just letting you know, like you can see different Avengers that we all know and love, but they're different people.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Why the hell not? You know, Tony Stark. They wanted Tom Cruise originally back before Iron Man 1 was made. They wanted Tom Cruise as Tony Stark. Why not do that? That'd be just a little, wink to the audience. Like, look, hey, this is what it would have been like. I mean, they could do a bunch of different things like that. And let's say one of them sticks. What if something sticks and they're like, wow, people really like this? Well, let's get them on board and have them in the Avengers now. They can do it. That's the beauty of it. That's what's so exciting, because there's so much that they can do, and I can't wait for it. I really can't.
Well, what do you think about on the Spider-Man topic, J. Jonah Jameson coming back into Spider Slayer rumors?
Well, you got J. Jonah Jameson, which is played by J.K. Simmons, which I thought was an amazing reveal at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home. I thought that was amazing. And again, I think that was our first taste at a multiverse there. I do, to a certain point. The fact that there's now rumor and talk that what's his name? Dr. Spencer Smythe is going to be popping up in Spider-Man 3. I think that's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And the Spider Slayer, that's pretty cool. I think we have to do something where we have to. Spider-Man has to be on the run in this movie.
Oh yeah.
And I think that with him being on the run, you have to have this cast of villains who are hunting him. And I think utilizing the whole idea of the Spider Slayers are really cool. I would love to see Kraven the Hunter in there. I would love to see Punisher in there as well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's so many different characters they can pull into that to make it happen. Just what are they going to do? At this point, what are they going to do?
Like, they could do so much with that. Like J. Jonah Jameson, he can be a dick to Spider-Man, so you wouldn't underestimate him saying, hey, I want you to kidnap Spider-Man and bring him to justice any way possible. Kraven just wants to throw up the hunt if he was in it.
Yeah.
And yeah, like there's so much you could do with it, man. Like Spider-Man is on a run. Originally, I thought in Spider-Man 3, they're going to bring Daredevil, and everything with him, like him being a lawyer and defending Spider-Man,
Still a possibility. I mean, we don't know. We don't know what could happen. I would like to see that. I would.
Yeah, like also I had a thing where I was thinking, if they have the multiverse and everything come back, they can make Peter Parker as one person and maybe Andrew or Toby be a Spider-Man, and they bring him to the judge.
Well, that's what that's something that a lot of people have talked about. Maybe the idea of having another Spider-Man there is they bring Peter, they capture him and are like, he's Spider-Man. And then Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man's like, what are you talking about? I'm Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It's like, there you go. There's your alibi. There's your way of getting out of it. I've also heard, and I love this idea, and I want it to happen so bad because I think it would be so emotional, so great, is the idea that Tobey Maguire, because we still have not seen what Uncle Ben looks like in the MCU. What if Tobey Maguire was actually Uncle Ben in the MCU? And we then have the multiverse open up, and we see Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker come into it, and Tom Holland's Peter sees him, and he's like, Uncle Ben? And he's like, no, Peter. Like, how crazy and effed up would that be?
Oh, man. Like, I've heard so much about, like, he's old enough to be Tom Holland's grandpa.
I don't think he's that old, but no, he's definitely old enough to be an uncle figure. I mean,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They are too off in age. I think Toby's in his mid to late 40s, so I think it would work for sure.
Oh yeah.
There's so much that I would love to see happen, and all this talk about Toby and Andrew, though, Sony came out and was like, okay, here's the deal. Those rumored castings are not confirmed. That's what Sony said. They put that statement through Entertainment Tonight simply stating those rumored castings are not confirmed.
They didn't deny it. Like, it ain't. They want it to be a surprise, probably.
They're not denying that there's been talks with these actors. They're not denying that they weren't cast. It's just they're not confirmed. And there it is. That's all we got. So, yeah. I mean, let me get your final thoughts. We're up to an hour here. Final thoughts on the whole Spider-Man situation and what happened.
Like, if you think about it, Spider-Man in the multiverse, it'd be a blockbuster for sure. Like, it'd be a hit, and it'd be stupid if eventually they didn't go with this route sometime down the road. If not this one, maybe down the road. But yeah, like, even if it wasn't a multiverse and it was just Spider-Man, Tom Holland going up against maybe a Sinister Six and the Spider Slayers, it'd be fantastic, man.
Yeah, no, I agree. I am on board with whatever they do at this point. A Marvel, I mean, if Kevin Feige, if you care about me at all, which I'm sure you don't, but if you care about me at all, you will open up the multiverse, bring in Toby and Andrew, have a little Hugh Jackman cameo at some point, maybe Uncle Ben, all that kind of stuff. You got me hooked. I'm in it for another 10 years if you do that. So, that's all I got to say about it. But I'm honestly, we're gonna wind down here. Thanks for coming on, man.
Oh, no problem, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Dude, I think you did great. I really enjoy having you on here. Definitely gonna have you on again for sure.
All right, just holler at me, man, and we'll set it up.
Absolutely. I'm going to throw you backstage here real quick as I close up.
Okay.
So, a second here. All right, everybody. That's the show for today. Make sure you head over to spoilerverse.com for so much more in regards to Bridging the Geekdoms. We have a plethora of other shows over there, such as Spoiler Country, which is our flagship show. They talk to a bunch of people within the industry, actors, comic book writers, musicians, all that kind of stuff. A great show. Check them out. You got Shooting the Sith, my Star Wars show, Polygon Warriors, a video game show, Narrative Gunslingers, and so much more. Misery Point Radio, gotta give them a shout out as well. But make sure you head over to spoilerverse.com for all of that. With that, again, I want to thank my guest, Tyrel from Geeking Out Loud. It was amazing having him on here. And make sure you check out his show where podcasts can be found. I will put a link in the description of my show. I don't think it's there yet, but I will get it up there by tomorrow. So make sure you check them out. With all that said, thank you for being with us and watching or listening. And I will talk to all of you later.